Welcome to Blake Street Banter, where one of us knows what the word banter means. The other one's just not here. We are kind of doing a makeshift thing. We have flus, we have school. I have the afternoon off, so I'm just going to do a solo pod, go 20, 30 minutes, try my best Patrick Lyons of Rockies Insider or Paul Holden of Locked On Rockies and go solo dolo on this. I don't know how this is going to go. I did some research, so, that's not one of my strong suits. I'm not Tyler. I'm not Patrick. I'm not any of those guys. I'm not K-Dub or Skyler on the Best of the West show. So bear with me as we kind of work through this. But let's just have some fun with it, right? Before we get into all that, obviously we got to let your mama know about this podcast. We've grown quite a bit on the YouTube. Thank you. Up to 252. It doesn't seem like a lot to you all, but it is big for us. So thank you. If you are listening on the podcast, go ahead and join us on the YouTube, all that kind of stuff. Again, we are not going to be going live on Twitter. This one's not live on Twitter pretty soon. So just log onto the YouTube. We're going to be doing some more things on there. You won't want to miss it. And going to go ahead and read an Apple Pod review. So if you are listening on the podcast, go ahead and give us a 5-star review or 4, whatever your heart desires. What would your mama tell you, though? This is from Rutrow at the beginning of the year. In a crowd of good Rockies podcasts, BSB stands the tallest. Thank you. In our market, new media is everywhere, which is great. If anyone tells you this town doesn't love baseball, you should just laugh in their face, particularly if it's a Dodgers fan. While they are all good and worth your time, BSB has clear advantages with numerous interviews and elite level draft coverage. They are worth a listen. Thank you, Rutrow. Honestly, do appreciate what Tyler does with the draft coverage. Him and Mike did work with the new man Luke on there, and really nobody else is doing minor league prospect interviews the way we are, a little banter session. So thank you, Rutrow, for recognizing that and being part of that. We are going to be doing more at the Big League Squad. So end of that 2-minute advertisement for Blake's Your Banter, and let's get into it. Should the Rockies do a 6-man rotation? So hot on the press, Mike Petriello did an article earlier this week that should teams consider 6-man rotations? Why should they? You have the Dodgers being the forefront of it for 2025 with Yamamoto, Ohtani, and then we all know Roki is going to the Dodgers, coming from Japan, where Japan has 6-man rotations. They have 5 full days of rest, and you're pitching on the 6th day. And so there's a lot of speculation that the Dodgers do that. Also, they are just loaded with talent, and they have a bunch of injuries, so why wouldn't they do that? Mike, in his article, kind of says that it's becoming more and more common than we expected. In 2021, there's 37% of pitchers had exactly 5 days of rest. 33% had 4. That's the first time ever in 2021, and then has increased since then in 2023 and 2024, going from 41% to 33%, and then 42% of 5 days rest to 32% of the 4-day rest. So pitchers are already kind of getting more rest than they expected, that you kind of would expect them to have, right? But these are teams that aren't completely leaning in on this. Is that because of the day off in the middle of the week? Is that because of the bullpen games that the Rays decided to start doing and everybody followed suit about 10, 15 years ago? He dives into it. Fantastic article. Go look at Mike Petriello, MLB.com, for his 6-man rotation numbers. It's pretty interesting. I'm not going to go ahead and summarize it. That's that man's work, and it's just good to get the conversation going. And then as far as like the history of the Rockies doing it, there was talks of it back in 2012 after the All-Star game, when we had a rotation of Urena and Cool, Kyle Freeland in the bunch, Austin Gomber. They were thinking about going to a 6-man rotation. And it sounded good, right? Like, you have a Chad Kuhl and Jose Urena who weren't quite sure what you were going to get the second half of the season. Austin Gomber was kind of just coming into his world. Thank you, John. What's up? Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for being here. 6-man rotation talk. Should the Rockies do it? So it's back in 2022, it made sense. And there wasn't really, in Patrick Saunders' article from the Denver Post that day, year, they just talked about going to it. Bud Black was on board. Seemed all the pitchers were on board. Kyle Freeland said something along the lines, yeah, if we're all grooving and moving and we're all feeling good, it's not a bad thing. I don't need the ball every 5th day if it's best for the team. Austin Gomber, this is a direct quote from that Patrick Saunders article, which I'll put in the description if you are interested in reading it. I don't think it will have any impact if we have 6 guys who are rolling. Other teams have done it. I don't think it's a negative thing for us and will have any impact on what we do. You get an extra day of rest, which is always a good thing. So it will be fine. And so that was all the talk. So I was like, all right, cool. Let's dive into this and see. And was kind of watching the Colorado Rockies in 2022. It's like, I don't remember the 6-man rotation, but I do remember the conversation. But since the All-Star break, it was Austin Gomber, Chad Kuhl, Kyle Freeland, Germán Márquez, Jose Urena. Those 5 pretty much ended the entire season of 2022. They only needed the 5 players throughout the rest of the year. Might be a spot start here or there, but all 5 of those guys were healthy. All 5 of those guys made their starts. There was really no need for the 6-man rotation. We probably need it, though. I mean, come on, let's be serious. Jose Urena, if we are going 6-man rotations, he's probably not getting that contract extension in 2023, whatever it was. But see, I think they were thinking outside the box, but the Rockies rockied and they fumbled the bag and they decided not to do it. Who was in the system back then? I don't know. 2022, who was up and coming? That was Carl Kaufman, Noah Davis. Could have easily thrown them into the Wolves there. I think that was before Jeff Criswell joined the organization, so he wasn't part of it. But there could have been a veteran arm. I'm sure Ty Block. I think Ty Block was part of the Colorado Rockies in 2022. That he could have been that 6-man rotation instead of the long reliever, and that's where the argument lies, right? It's you are the Colorado Rockies. You're gonna need a long reliever because one of them is gonna get blown up and go 3 innings or less in, and you need that Ty Block. You need that mop up duty guy, Noah Davis, a little bit last year, to kind of clean that up and just get to the next day or get to the next inning. Where if you're doing a 6-man rotation, that lessens your relievers, that lessens your arm bar, and it doesn't have as much that you could possibly go through it. So it's the conversation, and that's where I'm going to dive in here in 2025. Should the Rockies do it? And I'm going to be honest with you. Yes, I think they really do. Jonathan here, I do think it's possible the Rockies run a 6-man rotation with Feltner. I mean, Rockies are 5 solid starters. So let me go through the rotation right now. This is according to Rockies Resource, and just kind of following the Rockies, it's kind of hard not to see a 5-man rotation that does not include Kyle Freeland, Germán Márquez, Antonio Senzatella, Ryan Feltner, and Austin Gomber. Just mix those around however you want. Ryan Feltner is easily like a 2-3 guy, not really a 4-5 guy now, but you have Germán Márquez and Senzatella coming back from TJ. You have Kyle Freeland, who made 22 starts last year. And then you have Austin Gomber, who made 30 starts last year and was honestly pretty good last year. So you have a pretty solid rotation. Is it lighting up the skies? Is this what's going to take them to the playoffs? No, there's just 0% chance that's what's happening with this ragtag group of starters. But that's not the conversation. The conversation is, should the Rockies do a 6-man rotation to make it through 2025 and see what's there in 2026 and go for the moon in 2027, right? We all know the 3-headed monster. You know Sean Soley. You know Chase Dollander. You know Carson Palmquist. They're all knocking on the door. You also remember Bradley Blaylock, Tanner Gordon last year making their starts, their debuts. And then remember that Rule 5 pick, Anthony Molina, who was used as reliever, long reliever? He is now going to be worked as a starter, probably down in AAA. So you're looking at 6, 7, 8, Anthony Molina, Bradley Blaylock, and Tanner Gordon. Nowhere near the talent, no offense to them, that you have in Soley, Palmquist, and Dollander. And you have 5 solid guys ready to go, right? Like if you were talking about the Colorado Rockies rotation in 2023, you would have loved a Freeland, Márquez, Cincy, Feltner, Gomber rotation going through it, right? But we're 3 years down the road. It's not quite there. So should the Rockies do that 6-man rotation? I am 100% on board. Jonathan's on board. Thank you for hanging out on the YouTube, Jonathan. And if you are listening, go ahead and go comment on the YouTube right now. We'll come back to it. We can always resurface, bring back these conversations anytime we kind of want. That's the beauty of the internet. It's always there, which is kind of scary also. But think about it. Like if we have a 6-man rotation, those 3-headed monsters in the minors, they are working on 6 days, pitching every 6th day. They're working on 5 days of rest already because they play Monday through Sunday. Tuesday through Sunday. They have Monday off. And the Rockies are, minus the yard goats last year, at the beginning of the year, have gone one starting pitcher every week, right? You had Dollander on Monday. You had Sean Sullivan on Tuesday in Spokane. That was what it is. Tuesday, Wednesday. You know what I'm saying? So they're used to it, right? You have the history. Go back in Mike Petriello's article. The history was, as the playoffs are extending into 190 games in a season instead of 162, you have guys that need that extra rest because they're starting to lose their arsenal as the season progresses, and let alone altitude, right? You have you have guys that can fill in as a spot starter if you need. You have lots of options with the Rockies calling up, moving up and down. You have a pretty solid arm barn that could get you an inning every single day if you needed it to, right? But the biggest question with the 6-man rotation is, what do you do with that long reliever? You're losing one of those relief spots, right? You're going to miss out on having that long reliever who does the mop up duty when Kyle Freeland only goes 2 innings, or when Ryan Feltner only goes 4 innings. But do the Rockies really need it? See, I asked that question. I went ahead and I looked it up. So last year, obviously Freeland, Feltner, and Gomber of the 5 made the most starts, right? Kyle Freeland, 22 games started after his stint on the IL. Only 6 of those games went 5 innings or less, right? And you can probably go, the numbers are going to go less as you go 4 innings or 3 innings, right? Ryan Feltner and Austin Gomber actually had the same exact number of starts, 30, and the exact same numbers of starts that went 5 innings or less of 7. So you're looking at a solid 70% of your games are going to go 5 innings or more from your starter, which is good. You need the inning eaters. You have some depth with Hergert and Woodruff down below that they just signed. So you can bring up those old heads, so to speak, to mop up those innings if anything happens. But you can pretty much rely on 3 of these guys making their starts and going 5 innings or more, right? But you still need that long reliever. Who's the guy that can go 2 or 3 innings if Kyle Freeland goes 4, and then who gets 5, 6, and then how do we get to Halverson, Peralta, and Vodnik, or any combination of whatever headed monster you want in the bullpen, right? And so I think that's where you're looking at guys like Blaylock, Gordon, Molina, to be Carl Kaufman. Throw Carl Kaufman back into the mix to be that mop-up duty. Put Blaylock as the 6th man, and then you got Anthony Molina, who has the experience of Major League and the experience of a starter and the experience of a reliever to be that 7th/ long reliever to mop up, or do the piggyback thing that they tried a few years ago with one guy starting the first 2-3 innings, then have the other guy go 2-3 innings. We saw it work with the Tigers last year in their playoff run. So why can't the Rockies get creative with that? So you aren't throwing these guys' arms out, because we know that's a big issue. You got Chase Dollander, who is a dog, but how many innings can he give you in the first inning, like first season? Like that's scary. It's scary to think about. And record shows, if you get a second Tommy John, you're not going to be productive. I think Nathan Eovaldi is the only one that's really done that. Thank you to the guys at Beyond Baseball, or Baseball is Dead, to kind of figure that out. It's just good stats there. But it should be something that should be considered by Bud Black in the front office. NS, thank you, NS, 6 for hanging out. No, 6-man probably matters more if you're trying to preserve your starters for the postseason. It does preserve your star list regardless, though. And I think that's my argument. It does preserve the starters regardless. You are going to see Palmquist, Dollander, and Sullivan in purple this year, right? You're going to. So how can we preserve those arms to when it actually matters in the playoffs? How can we preserve those arms in 2025, 2026, 2027 when the playoffs are mattering, right? And it also gives you another chance to see these guys without the stress, the same routine as they had in the minors for the last 2-3 years, instead of adding more stress, major league pressure, all that to it, right? I wish the Rockies signed, just going off topic here, Jonathan, thank you for hanging out. Again, I wish Rockies signed Pete Alonso Power at Coors Field. Would Pete Priceless? Yeah, but I'm not a big Pete fan, so you're probably asking the wrong guy. I'm sure the rest of the BSB crew might disagree. I just don't need the polar bear in my life. He's too goofy. I don't like his defense, and I don't think his power is worth the $30 million he's asking for. We got Michael Togues, who can do the power thing. We have Charlie Condon, who's knocking on the door behind him. Kyle Karros. I don't think I need Pete Alonso KB 2.0. The longevity of Pete Alonso is not gonna be good. He's got 3 more solid years on him, and then he's gonna just waste away. No offense, Pete. I just don't see it. All right. So to recap my 6-man rotation, I think the Rockies should do it. I think they should consider it. And I think it has a bunch of benefits. It allows you to see what you have in Bradley Blaylock, Tanner Gordon, Anthony Molina, see who can kind of step up and be the 5th starter, 6th starter, or the long reliever, and who can kind of find a role there. And Bud Black's going to have to play the kids. And how do you get the kids the most playing time? I think that happens with the 6-man rotation. One of those guys are going to get injured. We are crossing our fingers. Cincy and Germán aren't having any setbacks. So, like, when Cincy goes down, why not call up 2 arms? Let's bring up Sully and Doe and have them do their thing. Just a thing to think about. I really do think the Rockies would benefit from a 6-man rotation. don't need the long reliever as much as we think we do. If we're going 70-80% of our games 5 innings or plus from our starters, that's a dub. That's a win, especially in a 100-loss potentially third season again. So yes, the Rockies should do a 6-man rotation. And then let's end it with some category talk. Our favorite follow on Twitter is Brooks Gates. He posted the other day. It's just, he's always posting. He always has the fun facts there. MLB team rankings last season, offensive, pitching, and defense. So the Colorado Rockies offensively were offensive, 29th out of 30 teams in WRCS plus last year. Starting pitching, it was rough. We all remember 27th in starting pitching ERA. Bullpen was 28th in ERA, and then the defense was a top 10 at outs above average as 10th place. So the categories, right? What are we going to progress in? What are we going to digress in? It's decrease. Words are hard. It's Tuesday afternoon. Who knows? I just looking at these just based on fun numbers, and I'm going to bring up what your guys' all of your all's reaction to this as well on the Twitter, is we are all high on our bullpen and our starting pitching depth. I think both of those go up because we're already at the bottom, right? We have all these young guys in the arm barn ready to shove. Give me a Peralta, give me Halverson, give me Hill, or give me Death, right? That's the t-shirt. Add that to the t-shirt list. We have these arm bars that can go innings and be shovers and be lights out. They're rookies, though. They are new to this, so they are going to hit their bumps and bruises. So the bullpen ERA will be better. Is it going to be a top 10? No. Top 15? Potentially, but I believe it's going to be a top 20 just because there is so much talent. There's also talent knocking on the door with Justice, with Darnell, with Agnos, and you got some guys, Hergert, experienced reliever in Hergert. So the arm barn ERA plus will be better. The starting pitching ERA plus 27th. Again, I don't think that gets any better. Yes, I just bragged about our rotation being able to be longevity, going 5 innings plus, but you're still pitching in Coors. You still have 2 of those 5 coming off of major surgery who had setbacks last year. You have Kyle Freeland, who we hope gets us 20, 25 starts. And then to fill those in, you have inexperienced rookie starters in the minors coming up, right? As much as I love Carson Conquest, his stuff might not play as well as it does in the majors. Sean Sullivan can place it anywhere he wants, but does he have the power? Because his deception actually work at the major league level against the Dodgers lineup? It might be a little rough sledding. So just the inexperience with the arms doesn't scream, hey, top 15 next year. However, it does see we won't be in the bottom 6th of it. I believe we'll be 24th or higher in those categories. Take a pause, go into the YouTube chat. Thank you for hanging out with us or with me for a little bit. The holdout sub 100. Thanks, dog. If that's what that means, I don't think I know what that means. Maybe NS extra starter will cost more than a long reliever or pen arm. Also, not like fans should care about how much an owner spends. Exactly. That's a whole nother conversation. We always touch on it. We always dabble some salt on it, but not quite put it in our mouth. It's who wants to come here as a starter free agent. You're going to have to trade for somebody. You're going to have to bring somebody in using prospect capital. Rockies just tend not to do that. But I agree. Bringing an extra starter is only good. A major league caliber starter, not signing these minor league guys that just don't have what it is. Love Ty Block to death, but I don't want to see Ty Block on the Rockies anymore, right? The defense, sub 100 defense. Maybe that's what he's talking about. I don't know. If you're the holdout, if you can let me know what you're talking about, that'd be great. Defense is going to be solid. We are top 10, which is awesome. But our defense is going to be a little shaky at second base, and I think our behind the plate will be just fine. But second base, we definitely dropped from B-Rod down to Estrada. Estrada knows this. He knows he's working on it, but his bat is going to be much better at the top of the lineup, and so is the speed. I think he has a different element that B-Rod wasn't able to bring. And then right field, depends on who out there. Hopefully we have a Zach Veen and Jordan Beck who can hold their own out in right field. Nolan Jones can do a little bit better as the just foundational of the outfield. He has a cannon. He can make He's an athlete, so he can make stunning plays, but doing the routine plays easily, I think, is where Nolan Jones needs to step up a little bit. But you have Gold Glove across the infield, minus Estrada. You have Stallings, who everybody loves to pitch, and Drew Romo, who is his highlight is his defense. So you have that defense. I think they'll be a top 10 again. I think Estrada is going to surprise us and actually be better because you have a Tolia throwing to him. You have a Tovar up the middle to help him out. I think there's just going to be a fun little connection there defensively with Estrada. And then the offense, I don't know. Like, I have so much faith in our guys, but 29th, that seems about right. It's tough out there. And we lost Charlie Blackmon, who last season he still was decent, right? Go look at his stats. We covered it a few pods ago. His numbers are good, but you're filling that in with unknown quantities of a Jordan Beck, a Zach Veen, a Yankiel Fernandez. Love Sam Hilliard to death too, but can he do it consistently, or is he just going to be that fourth outfield guy, fill in type thing, or is he going to be the right fielder? He's the right fielder. That also brings up the defense. So you have Tolia. Can he repeat his mashing? Can he bring up his average while doing that? What about Tovar? Can he bring down his strikes? Rymack, bring down his strikeouts. Estrada's going to give you average, but what are you going to get from Romo behind the plate? You got to trust Britton Doyle is going to do Britton Doyle things. That sophomore was not a sophomore slump. I don't think that was a fluke. That is who he is. I am on record saying that. So I think the offense is going to be rough again. I don't think we'll be 29th, but I wouldn't put us 24th or higher. I would love to be wrong. I want to see all these guys rake and do their thing. But it's just as much hype as we are with the Rockies, with the young cats, you have to remember that they are young cats. Not everybody is a Jackson Merrill. There could be more Jackson Holiday in his debut. Jackson Holiday is going to be a major league stud, but that's where we're at with all these exciting points, and that we need to keep that in the forefront. Take a deep breath and take it all with a grain of salt as the spring training starts in 50-ish days, less than 50 days. Oh, I had it. Pitchers and catchers report. Let's see if I can bring it up in time. Pitchers and catchers are going to report on the first pitchers and catchers first workout is going to be February 13th. So get ready. Take your honey to Valentine's Day dinner at the ballpark. And if you're down in Arizona, I would love to take my wife down there. She would hate it though. And then full squad first workouts is going to be the 18th. And then games are going to start shortly after. February 13th, pitchers and catchers begin. We are less than a month away from baseball everywhere. So thank you for hanging out. That is where we are going to sign off today. Make sure you tune in tomorrow to the Best of the West with people way smarter than I am. Skylar Timmons, K-Dub will not be on, but I think Skylar's got it covered. I think we got Patrick Lyons to join the squad to talk Best of the West tomorrow. Do they get to talk about Roki Sasaki? Do they get to talk about Dodgers and the Padres fumbling that bag? Do you see a Blue Jay? Who knows? Hopefully something happens. And don't forget, international free agent signing is tomorrow as well. Our guys are going to be on it. Keep an eye out on our Twitter if you're not following on that for that update, or BlakeStreetBanter.com. And we'll probably have an article up by the end of the day. Always find us here on the YouTube. We will start doing a little bit more frequently, almost every day, with Road to Blake Street, the Blake Street Pod, Best of the West. I think we're trying to figure something out for that Friday fun day for all of us involved that love baseball. See what happens. I don't know. Stick with us. Keep following along. And as always, go Rocks. Woo! Thanks for hanging out in the YouTube chat.